Hello YouTube, this is Card Machiavelli here. Today's topic, LSD. Now, I would like to share with you a crazy story back from a few years ago, the last time I took LSD, which ended horribly. I do not want to go into details about the actual horrors I had to witness in that trip, but I want to go into a time span of roughly 15 to 20 minutes, which ended in the trip having an insane life experience for me. Now, I did the terrible mistake of doing LSD, dropping a tab, while I was drunk and stoned. Now, there were reports of people that say that they did this as well and they enjoyed it. At the end of the day, LSD is a very subjective drug, subjective psychedelic. Some people have positive experiences with it, some people have negative experiences with it. And for me, it was always like some kind of very mixed experience. So, for me, there have been positive times and there have been negative times. What I like to describe LSD as is, compared to magic mushrooms, compared to psilocybin, is that I feel that LSD is a more logical, technical experience compared to magic mushrooms. Now, let me get the regulatory stuff, the legal stuff out first. I do not condone the use of any drugs or substances, illicit substances. Please take them at your own risk. If you take them, I advise you not to take them. This video is meant for educational purposes and sharing experiences. Thank you. Now that stuff is done, the last time I took LSD, it started with, I think it was one tab, and it wasn't like the real LSD. It was like this substitute of 1P LSD or 1C LSD or whatever. So this stuff you could order legally in Germany. And it started out with one tab. And I made the quite stupid decision of thinking it doesn't really kick in. So I dropped another one tab after. Stupid idea, very stupid idea, because the hallucinations went really overboard. And it was not only like the visual hallucinations, it was also the kind of somatic hallucinations. So I was feeling my heart pumping up to like, I don't know, 160, 180, I don't know. And overall, basically feeling like I was going to fucking die any second. So, terrible experience. But what I noticed in that time frame when the hallucinations got really extreme is that I was able to turn my hallucinations off by focusing completely. By turning off some kind of switch in my brain that teleports me into the moment and focus on the moment, focus on reality, and that way I could turn off my hallucinations for a few seconds. This was really tiring for my brain, so I was keeping like fully focused, and it worked. Like I could like see reality the way it was, the way I memorized it again, like my bathroom how it was. Now, but the hallucinations started to creep in again after a few seconds because my mental stamina, so to say, was gone after a couple of seconds. And so tried it again, worked as well. I could get rid of my hallucinations for a couple of seconds, like 2 to 3 seconds, and then they started like creeping in. I tried to hold them back, but after a while it got really tiring for my brain. And after that, I was like, I'm really tired of it, and the whole rest of the trip went pretty horribly. But that taught me something very important about life the more I thought about it. And first thing that I want to mention here is a psychological experiment they conducted with I think it was a Chinese monk or something, which you can read up in some psychology books, where they conducted an experiment with a monk who has meditated for, I don't know, 15 to 20 years every day. And they gave him a tab of LSD, told him to consume it, and record his, like, note his experiences. And what he said was very interesting, because he said that he didn't feel any change at all, any change in his perception. And of course, thinking critically, taking it with a grain of salt, so to say, he could theoretically lie about it, right? He could just say that he didn't seem anything, his perception of reality didn't seem like anything has changed. But if we think about it from a logical perspective, because meditation, at the end of the day, is just a way for your brain to connect your subconscious mind to your conscious mind and gain more overall consciousness on your perception of reality. So, if we now take some kind of psychedelic drug, it acts, what I've learned about it, it acts sort of like a cheat code to meditation. And that's where the risk factor comes in. The first risk factor is that you have a negative trip and you potentially can become traumatized for your life. You have a negative trip and become psychotic for your life. You have a positive trip and you can become psychotic for your life. That shit can also happen. A friend of mine told me that a friend of his took LSD, had an amazing experiences, but after that couldn't shut the fuck up about his experiences, and couldn't shut the fuck up about aliens and how they rule the world and stuff like that. And also, of course, there are positive experiences. People that reported that they were severe drug addicts and had an LSD trip and came clean. They basically stopped their addiction from one day to another just by having an LSD trip. So it's overall a fascinating drug, and I do support the use of psychedelics in medical and psychotherapy context. So I do think it has a lot of potential in treating different illnesses, if of course administered under the drug is administered under the assistance of a licensed therapist or someone who knows what he or she is doing. Now, getting back to meditation, LSD, the way psychedelics also work, is like they were supposed to give you a link, more neurological pathways between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. Your subconsciousness and your neocortex, so to say. As far as I know, at least. I'm wrong in any of that, or if anyone has better theories, anyone disagrees with me, feel free to comment down below. Now, the reason this makes sense, like the what the monk has said makes sense, is the fact that if you meditate for like 10 to 15 years, you sort of reach some kind of max level of consciousness, of clearance in your perception, a max level of focus, as I would interpret it after my last LSD trip. Because what I learned from it was that if you want to perceive the world as it really is, if you want to see like the reality behind the world, you have to turn on your focus. You have to work on your focus, maximize your concentration, your focus. Because our minds are oftentimes poisoned with all kinds of emotions, all kinds of perception signals, which also the marketing industry is really good at doing. Like through advertisement, billboards, and so on, we are prone to get our attention driven away, get our consciousness, subconsciousness manipulated by advertising schemes, different billboards, colors, and so on. So we tend to not see the world as it really is, but we tend to get stuck in our subjective reality. And so in order to get out of the subjective reality and get back into the objective reality, we have to turn on our focus and see the world as it really is. And see that, for example, the advertisement billboards are basically just screens with letters printed on them. These letters form words, and these words form sentences, grammatical structures. And these grammatical structures, these sentences, convey some kind of information. And this information is conveyed, is boxed into some kind of intent. And for example, if you work with psychology, if you study psychology, you are much more likely to know what the actual intent is based on a scientific level. Like, not only what the intent is, but what the technique behind the intent is. Like, the intent is obvious, like buy your product, right? But what is the technique which they use to convey that their product should be bought? So this is some example that just came to my mind right now. Now, and this applies to every kind of area of life, essentially. That we as humans, as we grew up in this monopolic society, have become prone to be easily manipulated due to different, let's say, lobbies, due to different companies, etc., due to different political agendas who do their best to manipulate our subconscious being. This is also the tactics behind disinformation campaigns, misinformation, disinformation campaigns. This is the tactic behind propaganda. This is the tactic behind marketing, as already mentioned. And of course, also in our private life, certain social norms that have developed over the past couple of years, or certain cultures that have developed over the past couple of years, are also prone or also developed to manipulate our subconsciousness, inject negative emotions into us, and therefore destabilize society and turn society into a certain direction. Therefore, if we want to see the truth behind everything and every problem that our modern society is confronted with, we have to work on our focus. We have to stay focused, train our focus to be better at staying focused, to have our mental endurance stronger, and to see the world as it really is, thinking critically about anything we can see. Thank you for watching.